Ange, Rob and Robbo.
Streaming live across the globe, Normie Rowe, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ange, Rob and Robbo. News, entertainment news. The Ange, Rob and Robbo. Ange, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ange, Rob and Robbo Show.
Hello there and welcome to the Ange, Rob and Robbo Show. David Robinson and Normie Rowe. How are we on this fine day?
Oh,
Living
great.
the dream. Living the dream, Mr. McKnight.
Brilliant to hear. I'm so pleased to hear that. David, you look very fresh tonight.
Today's not a wonderful show. Where is Naomi Robson? The television scene is poor without having that wonderful woman on it.
I agree.
Thanks,
I
Dave. You're
agree.
looking good too.
Well, look, there's a lot to discuss in our hot button issues today. Jason Roses will have all the entertainment news, and seriously, you will not believe what Bo Ryan has earned on hosting The Amazing Race. This figure is jaw-dropping. It has even surprised me, someone who's been in the industry for over 25 years. That is coming up. Well, let's get into our hot button issues because a lot has happened since we went off the air on Thursday with a citywide lockdown in Melbourne after a cluster broke out in hotel quarantine. Here's what we know. Melbourne is 3 days into a 5-day lockdown. However, Premier Dan Andrews has not ruled out an extension if case numbers call for it. In the past 24 hours, there has been one new locally acquired case, bringing the numbers of linked to the Holiday Inn cluster to 17. Overall, there are 21 active cases in the state, with more than 25,000 Victorians tested yesterday. Queen Victoria Market, as well as multiple tram lines, are currently undergoing deep cleaning after a confirmed case visited. Ange, you are stuck in the Melbourne lockdown. Are you happy with the decisions being made?
Hey, yes, I'm thrilled. It's like my favourite thing ever after 8 months of hard lockdown that we're all still, going through therapy to get over. And then this happens again, but who didn't know that this would happen? Over here in gold standard Victoria, and who honestly thinks that it will end on Wednesday night? Because that's a big fat no from me, for sure. I honestly believe that we'll be in stage 4 lockdown until there are 14 days of 0 cases. It's just seriously not being able to go any further than the supermarket when there's a teensy number of cases out there is, to me, ludicrous. And I bet you anything that other states will shut us out until we have 28 days of no community transmission. It's just so really, again. I totally understood it the first time around. But look, just homeschooling again, 5 kilometer radius. It's just, and I think that this is where Gladys Berejiklian is completely right, that, you don't need to lock down a whole state. You think about the Northern Beaches cluster there, and it was 150 people infected. So that area was put into lockdown, not the entire blooming state. Everybody else carried on basically as they already were, so that people could be free to go about their business. And rightly so. Lockdown was the last port of call for everywhere else, it feels like. But here in Victoria, it's the first. It's like the knee-jerk reaction. What should we do? Oh my God, quick, lock down the entire state. And I just think it's just too much for what's out there at the moment.
I think one of the issues I'm having here is the idea that Victoria is having problem after problem with hotel quarantining. Look, I've been a very staunch defender of what's going on in Melbourne and the decisions being made. But we have a situation where a nebulizer is used. This person is hounded. They turn around and say, I asked multiple times, this was never an issue. But then you have medical people saying, we knew from the get-go not to use nebulizers. This is a thing, Robbo, that we have put an end to because of COVID. So why isn't this followed? Why is this happening in the hotels again and again?
Well, I think it's quite clear that Victoria can't be trusted with hotel quarantine, even after the garbage dumpster fire that was last year. We're still doing the same thing. I agree with Angela Rowe. I think that Brisbane, Perth, Sydney have all shown that when you get a couple of these cases, you don't need to lock down the entire state. You don't need to go for a long time. Obviously we were told it was going to go until Wednesday, and now obviously headlines are coming out throughout the day today that said, well, it might not, it might go for longer. This is just poor. Now, Lee Sales, I'm sure we've all seen it, went to the press conference this morning with Dan Andrews and asked some pretty good questions. One, namely being, well, you obviously don't have any confidence in your tracing system. Why do you shut down the entire state for 2 cases? And he got on the back foot and did a political answer. And she came under fire from people on Twitter. Who gives a shit? About saying, well, why was she asking like the tough questions? Why was she holding a politician to account? Oh my God, strike me down if we can no longer do that anymore. This is not a good look for Dan Andrews. I think that if this kind of continues and it happens every single time where they lock their state down. So we've got a couple of cases in Melbourne, but people in Bendigo, Ballarat, they're all locked down too. It just boggles the mind. Anything that he got back by being strong and lasting the distance last year, I don't know that I think the shine will come off him very quickly if every time there's 1 or 2 cases, he's going to lock it down. Really quickly, the CEO of the Flight Centre Group in Queensland just blasted him over the weekend and just said, this is madness, because other major centres have shown you that you can lock down for a small amount of time, a small area where the cases are, but he just doesn't seem to have the confidence in it. It's a bad move.
And
Robbo, just on that
word.
As well. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love the final
word on this, because this is your home state. This is where you live. Tell me, respond to Robbo however you wanted to, and then tell me, how are the people of Melbourne feeling?
Okay, so what I just wanted to say just off the back of what Robbo was saying there was that, you just wonder how far all of this is going to go until somebody decides, do you know what? I actually think it's time to do the sensible thing now when it comes to hotel quarantine and move it to minimally populated areas. Yeah. If they'd followed the guidelines, which were very clearly set out during bird flu in 2009, this stipulated exactly that. With hotel quarantine, move it out into minimally populated areas. And if we had done that and gone with those guidelines from 12 years ago, I really don't think we'd be in the situation in which we are now. And it's just time to get it done. Move hotel quarantine. As far as how people are feeling, it really is just, do you know, okay, being perfectly honest, when the news came out on Friday, people kind of seemed to be really happy. And, I was sitting outside a beautiful sunny day at a restaurant having lunch. And I got, the breaking news alert on my phone. And I said to the lovely waitress who served me, I said, have you got a day off tomorrow for the next 5 days? She went, yes, it's so good. Now I imagine sort of, 3 days into it, it's already starting to get old. And, look, I haven't even left my house because I just can't bear to. It's just so depressing seeing, everybody out there. You're not allowed to take your face mask off for any reason at all, and it's just, I'd just rather stay home and wait this out. I think a lot of us are feeling like that.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on into a related subject, because the long-awaited wait for the COVID vaccine is almost up. But is it too little too late? Labor Senator Murray Watt shared this on Twitter, saying Scott Morrison promised Australians we'd be the first in the queue for the COVID vaccine. So far, 172 million vaccinations have been given in 77 countries, not one in Australia. I guess we might still beat Antarctica. This comes as the first shipment of Pfizer vaccines has arrived, as announced earlier today by Health Minister Greg Hunt. And there are now 142,000 doses in Australia. By the end of February, approximately 60,000 Australians will have received their first dose. This was actually reported on 9 News on Thursday, which we subsequently reported that they would be here today. Good reporting by 9 News, I have to say. Robbo, it is true that despite the promises of the PM, You know, we were supposed to be first in line. We're pretty much at the end of the queue. Does that matter considering where we are with cases?
Yeah, look, I think it does in a couple of fronts. One of them being is that we're trying to control it, and I think perception is everything. So we're trying to control also the messaging in Australia. They're spending billions and millions, billions of dollars. Let's just say heaps of dollars, hey? Lots and lots of money.
A lot of dollars.
Convincing. A lot of dollars, heaps and heaps, a lot of dollars to try and educate people and also roll it out. So I really do think it's important because we're told all the time, like, you know, from Melbourne, for example, or Victoria, wear your mask, you know, all this kind of thing. We've got to keep each other safe and everything. Well, the vaccine will do that. Secondly, my other point here, this is classic Scott Morrison. Loves an announcement, loves the press conference. Look what I'm doing. Look what we do. Well, it still hasn't happened. He is the master of announcing a policy and then it doesn't get used. The money that's put aside for it's never used. He then makes the same policy announcement the following year. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it is very well known, very much proven. You know, there's no conversation to be had about it. But yeah. Well, there isn't. That's fact. Like he did change the policy. No, but he did do the policy. You know what? There was a delay there, and I thought, oh, there's no way I've got through with saying that kind of sentence. And I waited in my head. Wait. Third. But this is classic here. Like, stop making the announcement. Like, make a proper, normal, actual announcement.
There is something I want to say. In fairness to Scott Morrison.
Scotty Morris. Here he is.
And this is what Labor isn't telling us. Hang on a second. This is what Labor in that tweet isn't telling us. Yes, there have been vaccines around the world, and pretty much Antarctica is the only place there haven't been. But not all of them have been the Pfizer vaccine. A lot of them have been the China-made vaccine, which, Angela, please tell me if I'm correct here, my understanding is not as effective as the Pfizer vaccine. We have had our money on the Pfizer vaccine. The European Union put a block on that being exported because they decided that Europe had to be done first. They've released that block, and now, that's why we're getting it now. We do have to be a little bit fair here, don't we, Angelique?
Well, we are more than fair on this show, I think. Look, I think we definitely made the right decision in sticking to our guns and waiting until, you know, the rollout of the Pfizer vaccine. And yes, it is supposed to be more effective than the Chinese one. And I can think of that, to me, just sounds completely logical anyway. But as far as being sort of, you know, left till right at the end of the queue, I can actually see the positives in that, because we have done, you know, despite what we just talked about in our first story, we actually have done so much better than so much of the world. And it's encouraging that we get to have the luxury of making sure that the vaccine is properly safe, rather than, you know, having it rolled out in a state of extreme emergency dictating the time frame. So if it takes a bit longer, I'm down with it. Having said that, I'm not in a high risk category, and I don't know anybody who is over here. And I can imagine that there are countless people who are, or whose loved ones are, just clinging on to every single second until the jab gets rolled out. And, you know, you both know that my parents are in the UK and they are high risk. And I'm beyond grateful that they've been given the vaccine. And it is that data out of the UK that is going to be our saving grace. I firmly believe that, you know, real world experience of several 100,000 people having had it is vital to us over here. And we just have to wait that little bit longer. I think it's a good thing. Okay,
fair enough. Well, look, popular police sitcom Brooklyn Nine-Nine will be ending after its 8th season, set to air later this year. Show creator Dan Gore took to Facebook in an official statement saying, ending the show was a difficult decision, but ultimately we felt it was the best way to honour the characters, the story, and our viewers. The show has a big following, and that big following made itself known after the cancellation by Fox after 5 seasons. In fact, the uproar was so significant that it convinced NBC to pick it up the following day. Back in June 2020, one of the show's stars, Terry Crews, said that the planned direction of the 8th season was being altered in response to the killing of George Floyd, and 4 ready-to-go episodes were binned. Andy Shamberg, who also stars in the show, stated that they needed to find a way to strike a balance between addressing police brutality and painting its comedic style. Robbo, while they haven't explicitly said it sounds to me like their positive representation of police, which came under fire, is the reason this show is coming to an end. They've been accused of glorifying the police force. Does that mean we can't enjoy police comedies anymore?
Well, no, we can't enjoy anything that's based on a profession. You know, I mean, some doctors kill babies, so let's cut out anatomy. That's got to be cancelled. You know, what Boston Legal, like a lot of lawyers are corrupt and whatever. We've got to cancel all of the legal shows. This is, it's a comedy. It's a bloody comedy. It doesn't need to reflect what's happening in the real world. It is, and it's escapism comedy. It is not, you know, it's not highbrow comedy. It's silly comedy. You know, I just find this absolutely ridiculous, and I also think it is so lame that the actors, oh my God, they're actors are wonderful people. They should keep their mouths shut. Just read the bloody lines. You know what I mean? No, you don't need to reference what's happening in the outside world. You just don't. That's not the basis of your show. You don't use storylines from real life in police forces and
for
put
a
them
comedy
on this
series.
Comedy show. This is absolutely ludicrous. Madness. You don't need to do it. It doesn't need to have George Floyd in it.
Do shows need to be representative of what's happening now, or do they provide an escapism? To me, this is just complete stupidity. The show was actually rating really well on NBC. It was getting great ratings, may have even been #1 in its time slot. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist has come back, and the creators of that show said, we are not making a show that's going to be reflective of the pandemic. That has not hit this world. And you know what?
Fine.
Watching it, I'm so pleased. And as a Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan, I don't want to watch that show for a reality check on police violence. I want escapism.
Absolutely. 1,000% agree. You know, I absolutely love the show, always have done ever since, you know, the very first episode. And it's just so sad that in this climate, sociologically and politically, that they felt that they had to, you know, go down this route. But I also know that even when it's a fictional comedy program, they would have been raked over the coals if they hadn't addressed the last year somehow.
It's a comedy show, though, and are these people
totally?
Are these people that are wrecking them over the coals? Are they watching the show?
I would venture to guess that they probably aren't, and that's an excellent point, actually. No, but everybody loves to have a bit of a whinge these days about anything and everything. And, you know, we need some bloody levity now. Why does everybody have
more
to,
than ever.
you know, oh my God, but, you know, you two know that I'm about to start, you know, filming again for The Real Housewives of Melbourne, and we're having to rework storylines and the mood of the show.
Whoa, red light. Rework storylines? Isn't this all off the cuff, just fly on the wall documentary?
Oh, yeah, sorry. That's reality, isn't it? So in our off-the-cuff storylines, we also have to reflect the year. So, you know, initially, because we didn't know when we were going to start filming again once the pandemic hit.
Yes.
And so initially we were thinking, all right, look, it won't be very long, and we'll just sort of like gloss over it because that's what Housewives does. Like, you know, what Brooklyn bloody Nine-Nine should be doing, just like, you know, concentrate on entertaining the public and providing some escapism and entertainment, not having to seize upon every single, you know, major depressing event that has been, you know, the world for the last year.
Yes, which is, I totally agree. If it was a show that regularly, and it was part of its kind of DNA, where they did use stories from real police precincts around the country, then all right, you've almost got a bit of an argument there, right? So again, I'm going to use Boston Legal as an example. A lot of those cases were drawn from real life news stories and real life events. This has never done this. It's the same as saying that Family Guy, for example, or The Simpsons need to write into their shows something about police brutality or something, because it happened during the year. I know they're not police shows, but they both have police characters in them. So surely there should be a sub narrative in a couple of episodes talking about this kind of stuff, because it's a comedy show, but it's got to reflect what's happening.
They actually could probably do that and make it
funny
and make the point. But yes, I understand.
It's bloody ludicrous. These too much wokeness. Everyone go back to sleep for a minute. You're all too woke. Bloody hell.
And we've got some breaking news. Abby says, our producer, just a fact check, Brooklyn Nine-Nine has done that before about police brutality. So they have covered it, but it didn't need to bring the show to an end. I think that's what we're all saying. And it didn't need to be the ongoing storyline. It just didn't. All right,
this world is just gone to the dogs, hasn't it? It's just...
Well, maybe this next story will get you... Actually, I'm going to spoiler alert. We've got one more hot button topic, and then I've got a video I really want you to see because I cannot wait for your reaction. I've got a quick hit to bring you, okay? So stay peeled. All right. Clubs New South Wales has taken Liquor and Gaming New South Wales, the state's gambling regulator, to the federal court in an attempt to force them to hand over information from a whistleblower who raised concerns about money laundering in casinos. They believe the whistleblower in question is Troy Stoltz, and he may have provided the Liquor and Gaming with confidential information in conflict with his post-employment restraints. Stoltz has said that the hearing, expected next week, would make whistleblowers fearful to speak up in future. Now, Ange, this is really important. We are talking a lot over the last week about Crown, which has seen the resignation of plenty of board members, that they're unfit to hold a license in Sydney with the way that company currently stands. We need that came from a whistleblower. We need whistleblowers.
Absolutely we do. We completely do. And it's cases like this. That's exactly why people don't come forward, for fear of being dragged through the courts or, threatened or having their families threatened or even worse. These people are beyond brave and instrumental in fostering transparency. Why wouldn't we do everything that we could to protect these people? They're the catalyst for reform. And how is it that a confidentiality clause in a contract can silence the release of information when it's about wrongdoing to anybody, including, speaking out to the media, but especially going to the authorities? Clauses like this, in my opinion, are just carte blanche for an organisation to act as unlawfully as it fancies doing, and they should be made illegal themselves. It's just wrong. There are like 30 countries with specific whistleblower laws to protect them, and rightly so, and plenty more with at least partial legal protections. And that's exactly as it should be. I just feel so awful for this man and anybody like him who risk everything, essentially, to do what's right, and yet still, get torn a new one when that's what they try to do.
This is the big issue, though, here, Robbo. We don't have protection laws for whistleblowers. And I do believe part of that is because the government always want the right to go after whistleblowers who tell tales on the government.
Look, it's grubby from head to toe, because Club New South Wales, who is trying to get this information, as we know, as you said, from the regulator in the federal court, they have been given an exemption. They're allowed to donate to political parties, whereas other gaming and liquor licensees and stuff, they can't do that. Like, it's grubby from head to toe. Of course, Australia doesn't really like whistleblowers because it kind of just upsets the roost for everyone who's having a good time. Everyone's got a bit of a
people in power don't like the whistleblowers.
Yes, No, that's what I mean. That's why everyone who's got a golden goose that lays the golden egg, everyone's got one of those. So if you're going to upset I don't know, I should have really planned
You're
out
sounding
this
so
analogy.
cynical tonight, Robbo.
Yeah, but it's true. This is why we should have, and why it keeps getting shut down, a federal ICAC.
Absolutely.
And it just
Absolutely.
won't happen because they're all grubby. They're disgusting.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The whole world's gone to it's gone to dogs.
I
right,
know,
Grandpa.
it really
All
has.
right, Grandpa.
It really has.
Let's move on, because we've discussed at length the reports from Collingwood Football Club exposing the racism within the sport, as well as Eddie McGuire's comments, apology, and eventual stepping down. But have we been too quick to brand Eddie with the success he achieved and not the racism within a club at which he was at the helm? In an opinion piece for the Sydney Morning Herald, Sean Kelly pointed out that while he had failed on systemic racism, in most other areas he had been effective, and that was being celebrated by fans and critics alike. And that presiding over a club found to have a problem with racism didn't stop Eddie McGuire's tenure at Collingwood being judged a success. He concluded with the suspicion that those of us who have not experienced racism have not learned to judge it with sufficient gravity or understand the harm and trauma it causes. This is interesting, Robbo, because the man essentially lost his job for the way he handled the racism within the club. Can we not, on the other path, acknowledge the good things he did for that club, which also had a lot of Indigenous initiatives?
Of course we can. This is just... I hate that. I'm now starting to get bored of hearing cancel culture, and I don't think it fully applies here. But it's almost like this idea. Well, he stuffed up on this thing, and albeit a very big thing, I'm not reducing it or dismissing it in any way. Very important. Yes, he handled the report badly. He certainly handled the release of the report badly. But he did do a lot of good things for both Collingwood and the sport in its entirety. Look. It's such a cliche, but it's really important. Nobody's perfect, okay? So there were a lot of Indigenous programs that he spearheaded for Collingwood. Overall, the AFL has been pretty much at the forefront of that kind of thing, of those kind of programs, rather. This annoys me. I don't care about sport, I don't know Eddie, but I just think, why cancel someone?
Today, effective immediately, I stepped down.
Or, the one thing they did, but what about the million other things that they did that were right, or that worked, that was good for the game, that were good for the players? Just come, no one's perfect. And the people that want to see that kind of, rubbed off the history books, I just want to see everyone else, just stand up and just go, tell us everything that you've done in your life, because I'm not a psychic here, but I reckon there would be a lot of people who have done, some bad things as well. It's just not fair. No, this whole world's gone to the dogs. Sorry, I'll stop saying that. Sorry.
And where do you stand on this? History will judge Eddie at being at the head of a club that had big problems with racism. There were some things they tried to do to, as we said, Indigenous programs and things like that. Should his success be stripped away because of the failures he oversaw?
No, definitely not. I mean, look, it wasn't just one isolated incident of racial ignorance, if you like, on his part. But should that taint his professional achievements at the club? No, of course, absolutely not. I think it is also interesting that the journo in this case says that people who have never experienced racism themselves basically could never get it. They just would not understand the trauma that it causes. And look at somebody like Eddie. How would somebody who never has been vilified for the color of their skin necessarily understand what it's like? I think it was unfortunate, his wording. It was, clumsy and insensitive. And there are plenty of white people who have understood it sufficiently to not sound like a complete oik when they're talking about it.
That was an attempt.
Clears,
his press conference was an attempt at spin, a shitful attempt, pathetic attempt. It was an attempt at spin, saying this is a great day. We've got this report. We're moving forward, and what it didn't do, it wasn't the right tone. So sorry, go on. I just want to. I've wanted to make that point for a while.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. And I do think that, when this particular dust storm does clear, I don't actually think that Eddie McGuire will be remembered for that. I think he'll be remembered for his great success at the club. But until then, I hope that while he's busy crying into his squillions, that he does give a little bit of thought as to how he ended up as, the Prince Philip of the AFL.
Yeah, that's such a good comparison. I love that.
Thanks, darling.
Well, a woman who was refused entry to a store to buy an item due to not having a face mask had to get a little bit creative. Have a look.
Mas não pode entrar sem máscara. Eu mando o menino pegar.
Não seja por isso. Se você vai mandar ele pegar, não seja por isso. Não seja por isso.
Hoje é seu jeito.
Não. Mas eu entro pra pegar café. Tem a calcinha rasguei, mas eu vou pegar o café.
No.
Já resolvi o problema.
Oh, God.
Se meu café eu não fico. Tá sem meu café?
No. That legitimately has left a foul taste in my mouth. I can't begin to imagine what. And she didn't even look which side she puts it on. There is a better side. That's all factored here.
Oh my God. You know what?
Know which side.
It's when you need a face mask just in the nick of time, Robbo.
I enjoyed that.
I don't know why she went off like that, though. It was her fault that she didn't remember her mask. No need to get all crotch-a-tee.
You're still doing it. I don't mind it. Sorry, I'm still a little bit.
I don't know. Where was her bra, though? That's what I don't understand. She clearly had a
What would the bra have made a better mask?
Earmuffs.
She would have looked like the... when we've got the ear pandemic, for sure. Anyway, that one just struck me as weird. Anyway, Susie Ellerman shared that on Twitter and I had to grab it. So thank you, Susie. Hey, it's time for a news update with Ange.
Sure is. Let's get you right up to speed now with the latest news headlines for this Monday, February the 15th, 2021. Bombshell allegations out of Parliament House today with a young Liberal staffer claiming she was raped while working in what she called her dream job. Media advisor Brittany Higgins says she was sexually assaulted by a colleague in Defence Minister Linda Reynolds' office, the same room in which she was made to attend a meeting after reporting the incident. That's a decision Reynolds now concedes was a mistake. Higgins, meanwhile, says she felt forced to choose between reporting it to police or keeping her job. To Myanmar now, where security forces in armoured vehicles have taken to the streets in a bid to thwart huge protests following this month's coup and detention of elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Police opened fire to disperse hundreds of thousands of anti-coup demonstrators who had turned out a day before Suu Kyi's detention was due to expire. The coup removed Suu Kyi's civilian government, despite having won a clear victory at November's election. The military junta, however, slammed it as fraudulent. The fallout for Crown Resorts continues, with CEO and Managing Director Ken Barton stepping down. That follows a damning report last week, which found Mr. Barton was, quote, no match for what is needed at the helm of the casino licensee, and that he failed to properly investigate allegations of money laundering at Crown. The inquiry found Crown was not fit to hold a gaming license in New South Wales, meaning it can't operate its newly built casino at Barangaroo. A landmark day for Tasmania's Indigenous community, with two of the state's oldest institutions apologising. Oops, we're going straight to weather, are we? Well, I'm going to have to skip forward a little bit to get to that particular part. Cairns then can expect a possible morning storm, while Brisbane will have a shower or two. The wet weather continues in Sydney with a few showers. For the harbour city, it'll be cloudy in Canberra. A nice change day for Melbourne and Hobart with a mostly sunny day. And the sun will also be shining in Adelaide, Perth and Alice Springs. Up in Darwin again, there is a shower or two and a possible storm. Righto then, now that we've slashed two of my news stories, it was totally worth it because we get to see Jason Roses a bit faster. Hello, my love.
Oh, Ange, thank you so much. Coming up, you won't believe how much Beau Ryan was paid to host The Amazing Race for Channel 10. It's literally more than the number of viewers the show has. Justin Timberlake offers a grovelling apology to Britney and Janet Jackson, and now his friends reveal why he did it. Sia opens up about her affair with Shia LaBeouf, and she's not leaving out any details. And David Letterman, he's under fire for an old interview with Lindsay Lohan. The entertainment report is coming up in about 10 minutes, right here on the Ange, Rob and Robbo show. For now, though, it's over to you, Robbo.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Well, I don't have one. No, all right, I'll just do that then.
You don't? Great.
I'll just do this now.
Oh, no. No. No.
Oh, my God. Nice speedos, dude.
Sorry about that, guy. I probably shouldn't do that at the end of the day. I think I'd rather just see what I...
Jason walked up in this guy.
We all want to.
Sorry about that, guys. When you need one, you got to get one. All right, let's have a look at what happened on this day, February 15th, in this wonderful planet we call Earth. And it was on this day in 1943 that the famous We Can Do It wartime poster was produced. It was made for Westinghouse Electric as an image to boost female worker morale, but was rediscovered in the 1980s and became an image to promote women's rights movements. It went on to make the cover of the Smithsonian magazine in 1994 and became a mail stamp in 1999. She's got bigger muscles than I do. And it was on this day in 1950 that Walt Disney's animated film Cinderella premiered. It was a global success and helped revive the studio out of near bankruptcy. The castle has become an icon for the Walt Disney Company, serving as a logo and with real-life constructions at their theme parks. It was followed by 2 sequels, countless reimaginings and live adaptations, and in 2018 was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. And in 2011, US President Barack Obama awarded writer and activist Maya Angelou the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The award is to recognise people who have made an especially meritorious contribution to the security or national interests of the United States, world peace, cultural or other significant public or private endeavours. There's a lot of boxes to tick there, rather. Sorry, I've still got the undies. Other recipients have included Mother Teresa, Rosa Parks and Bob Dylan. Back to you, Bobby.
Thank you very much, Robbo. Well, he was Australia's first king of pop, with hits we know and love to this day. And now Normie Rowe is teaming up with 2 other icons for a very special tour you won't want to miss. To tell us more about it, here is the legend himself, Normie Rowe. Normie, welcome to the Ange, Rob and Robbo show.
Thanks very much, Robbo, and thanks, Ange. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Finally, technicals notwithstanding.
You were very good because before the show we did our technical checks and it took you a little while, but you got there, Normie. You showed that anyone can work this damn fangled technology.
Yeah, well, it was a new thing for me, this the one that you're using, and so I had to do a very quick learning process. That's all there is with these things. It's just learning all the time.
Absolutely. Now, look, Normie, you have doing such a fantastic tour with Diana Lee and Jade Hurley. Tell me a bit about this, please.
Well, Diana, of course, was a big star in the 60s. She came to Australia from New Zealand after having a number of hits over there. She had Do the Blue Beat and Don't You Know Yokomo and Repeat. And she was known as the Queen of the Mods. All the girls wanted to have hair like Dinah Lee and do the dance thing that Dinah did. So she's the girl version of it all. And then, of course, along came Jade Hurley, and he was sitting back there on his piano when I was in primary school, I'm going to say.
Is that a believable story, Normie?
Oh, it's an absolutely believable story because I saw him on 6 O'Clock Rock, and that was in the 1950s.
Oh, really?
So, yes, it was a very different time for me because I hadn't even really. I don't think I decided that that's what I'd like to do for a job, but. It's funny, I said to my dad, when I grow up, I want to be a singer. He said, you can't do both.
How wrong he was. Parents don't know everything. Look, I have to say.
And then Rob, and then he said, I've got to tell you this. Then he said, when you if you go into recording, don't ever record a song you can't sing when you're 60. And I thought that's a long way away. So I recorded Shaking All Over, and I'm 74 now, and I actually can do the shaking better now because I don't have to work at it.
Oh, mate. And this is the point. You released some brilliant music from the 60s onwards that we still love today. What do you reckon has been your secret to longevity and timelessness?
Look, I think getting up every day and reinventing every day. The first thing I do when I wake up, I get out of bed.
Yep.
The next thing I do is I make my bed. And from that time on, it's all about decision making, right from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed at night. And I think if I can do just one good thing each day, by the time I've finished a year, I'll have done 365 good things. So I think that's not a bad year's work. And when you've done 74 of those, I suppose you're constantly reinventing. It keeps life fresh.
Man, I really like that. That's a great approach. Look, I want to talk a bit about your career because you are a really interesting case study to me because you were really popular and you went to Vietnam and you struggled when you came back to make it musically. And I actually didn't know this, but Molly Meldrum actually banned you from Countdown. Now, how did this happen and what was all this about?
Yes. How dare he do that?
Damn straight.
Look, I have absolutely no idea. I don't know the reason. And even if that was fact, all I know is that I didn't appear once on Countdown in its entire history. And I always tried to do the right thing, be nice to people and everything. But I didn't see, like I said, I didn't see a Countdown camera for the whole time of its existence. Fortunately for me, that wasn't so for from the 9 network and the 10 network. Even the 7 network, I did the Tonight shows that they had, and I did all the Tonight shows of Don Lane and even Graham Kennedy and all those sort of shows. And I also did the midday show regularly. And Young Talent Time and a few of the other ABC shows, but it just seemed to elude me, both that and eventually Hey Hey It's Saturday, but I found out why I was persona non grata there, but it's a discussion for another time.
Is it, Normie? Is it?
Well, it is because...
We've all heard stories about that show, mate. Don't you worry.
Yes, I know. But it would sound like sour grapes. But look, the thing is, I'm still going.
Doesn't. I've got to say, it's interesting talking to you now because you seem philosophical. I feel like you're someone who's been on a bit of a journey. Like you've been the young punk, for want of a better word, doing the music. You've gone and seen combat in Vietnam. You've come back and struggled. Like we've only touched the tip of the iceberg on that, but like Australia was a different place. We were shunning the people that had fought for our country. We didn't really give them the respect of coming back from war. And you've really been through some tough times throughout your life. But I sit here talking to you now on the verge of this tour, and you have this feeling to me of a bit like a man who's a bit like, I've seen it all, I've done it all, and now I just want to enjoy myself.
Well, you get to a point, I think, in your life where there is no reason to go back into things that might have been or might not have been. And I was out today with Peter Cook, the famous racehorse jockey.
Oh yeah.
And he said to me, "You keep saying it is what it is," and I do. I say, look, it is what it is. You do something about the things you can do something about, and the other things, there's no real point in worrying about it. But I've had that philosophy since I was a teenager for some reason. And one day I went to New Zealand. I was in New Zealand, and I was talking to some Maoris at Rotorua, and I said, "Your people always seem to be happy." And he said to me, "Normie, you know, we have a saying here in New Zealand, live for today, for tomorrow may never come."
True. Absolutely great advice.
And I sort of, I don't know whether I ever consciously did it, but, you know, if you consciously grasp something like that for a little while, it will become a habit for you. So, you know, it forms habits, and then you can, you know, you go on with your life. I mean, I honestly know that you can't change anything in your life but your attitude. But by changing your attitude, you can change every single thing in your life.
Well, look, you are proud of everything you've done, and you haven't been afraid to stand up for yourself. I have to show this to people who haven't seen it, because I'm a TV geek, and this is one of the most famous scenes that ever occurred on Australian TV. You know what I'm about to talk about.
Yeah. I'm just checking my watch for the time. By the way, this will be the third time today.
Oh, really? Is that what... Okay, look, first of all, we're going to talk about it in a moment. It's been 31 years since this moment on Midday. Let's talk about it after we take a quick look.
And you are a sanctum right
I
here.
have been an Australian from day one.
You live for the bags, and that's
Do you know
all
what
you
that
got.
is?
What
Do you know what that is?
What is it? What is it? Hang on. He's going to push me.
Interesting, Normie, you said you have, you know, I have no doubt people still talk about this. It was such an iconic moment on TV. And despite the fact it was the midday show, everybody thinks they saw that live when they should have been at school and work.
I got a call from a friend of mine who was working ships in Norway, and he said, "I just saw you on TV." But all over the world, it was amazing. It went to England and Europe and the United States and Canada and South America, all sorts of places. It came back reports that it had been on the local television screens. But knowing what I know now, I would never have even put myself in that situation, because I suffer with, well, I don't suffer. I have a strategy to deal with my post-traumatic stress disorder, which seems today to work. I don't put myself in stressful situations. I knew it was going to be stressful, and yet I still went ahead and turned up, because Ron had a big name for creating havoc on live television.
He courted controversy. That was what he did, He
tipped a glass of water or something.
He threw a glass of water down in front of Jan Event.
Jan Event, yeah. I mean, look, he was an interesting man, I guess, and he created that interest constantly by doing things out of the square.
It's interesting, though, just before I let you go, I want to go back to something you said there, that you've learnt with ways of dealing with your post-traumatic stress. Was that part of what played into that day? Was it that you were going into a stressful situation, as you said, and then, things came up. He was saying pretty outrageous things, and it was a lack of knowing how to deal with that when you were feeling all this stuff from being in Vietnam and everything that happened since. Tell me about that.
I think for me it was much more about protecting my friends who don't have a platform. And I've got maybe 50, 60,000 Vietnam veteran friends. Probably a few hate me, but still, you can't please everybody. But I think... if somebody says something that I think is totally derogatory and something unfair, I'm sorry, but I'm going to stand up, because that's the place that I've put myself ever since I came back. You know, if I was going to be in show business again, it wasn't going to be for the self-flagellation of the pop star, you know, where you go on stage purely and simply to get people to love you. I couldn't do that anymore. It had to be for something substantial, and between that and trying to do stuff charity-wise for kids with disabilities and disadvantages all over the world, sick kids, you know, it made me. It gave me the license to actually be in the business that I'm in.
Well, Normie, I've got to say, I think you are a legend, and I have really enjoyed this chat. 3 Legends in Concert begins this weekend in Newcastle. Please don't miss this amazing show. If I was in Newcastle, I would be there. Head to 3legendsinconcert.com for information and tickets. Normie, thank you so much for being on the Ange, Rob and Robbo show.
Rob, when you put that logo up, it reminded me of the first time it came back. The LEG and the ENDS were separated. It just looked like 3 leg ends.
Oh. Normie, you're hilarious. Please go and see this concert this weekend. Normie, thanks again.
Thanks very much, Rob. See you at the Civic Theatre in Newcastle.
It's the Random Life Shot of the Day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the Random Life Shot of the Day.
What was that?
I don't know. That little... See you in Newcastle. But for right now, we are going to see you in Florida, USA. This is our random live shot of the day. Cloudy with a top of 30 degrees, low of 19 degrees. Couple of quick facts for you. Talking about weird laws, it is illegal for anyone wearing swimwear to sing whilst in public in Florida. State law also highlights that if an elephant is left tied to a parking meter, the parking fee has to be paid. And if you're not liking your kids tonight, unfortunately, it is illegal to sell your children in Florida. Oh, that's...
Only in Florida.
Yeah, only...
I never
okay home there, Ange? Yeah.
So many facts. We don't have time for Jason, but let's get some feedback.
Hang on a minute. We don't have time for Jason because that interview went for 3 hours. In any case, I reckon we could have some time to get some feedback. Cameron says, does Rob and Robbo wear TV makeup for this show? Okay.
Outrageous.
Little bitch. You little bitch, Cameron.
Are you saying we need more,
yes.
Cameron?
Yeah. Oh, he's not on the phone there, Rob. It's just text. No.
Why didn't he ask whether I wear makeup? I mean,
because you're beautiful naturally.
Because you look beautiful. Quickly, Jason Turner says, I bet it's been a while since Robbo had his whistle blow. I need to pre-read these before I read them on air. So I was even that one I was trying to do really quickly.
True.
Watch for the skid marks, Robbo. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Oh, that's because I took me undies off. No, I'm a good wiper. Jason says, funny, Robbo, just glad you don't wear a jockstrap. Well, not tonight. And finally, on feedback here, Reggie says, wow, Normie is still kicking along. Smiley face, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. He is fantastic. If you want to catch that interview again, you can go to our social media. Just make sure you put aside half the day for it so you can see it all. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, search at the ARR show. I'm just getting with you, Robbie.
You are watching the Ange, Rob and Robbo show as we beam live around the nation. All stream live.
Are you in a cave?
As Amanda says, hello.
Every time you go to that wide shot, you're in a cave.
Yes, I think I know why. I'll fix that for tomorrow. All right, it's time to go back to the entertainment report with Jason. Hello, Jason. There's been a lot of apologies being demanded. Sorry, a lot of apologies are being demanded after the Framing Britney Spears documentary. Someone that we spoke about last week has come out and said they're sorry.
Like the biggest superstars in the world, Justin Timberlake. Of course, we know him from NSYNC, and then he went on to forge his own successful career. But you might have forgotten, Justin and Britney dated back in 2002 for 3 years. And since the documentary's aired, he's copping a lot of slack for his mistreatment of Britney. This is what he had to say. He's posted some long apology on Instagram and a little snippet. I am deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right. I care for those and respect these women, and I know I failed. Now, although Justin and Britney dated for 3 years, when they broke up, 2 things happened. Firstly, Justin made the video Cry Me a River, and it basically implied that Britney cheated on him because he went and hired a Britney lookalike. So that was all through the media. And then Justin never stopped talking about him and Britney having sex. So a lot of people are saying, and they're outraged, they're saying, Justin, you tarnished Britney's reputation, and so you should apologise. But is it a little too late? I don't know.
I've got to say, this apology also was an apology to Janet Jackson. And let's be honest, this came after I demanded an apology from him for his actions last week. I was talking about the fact he did wrong by Janet Jackson, he did wrong by Britney, and what happens since that has been streamed across the nation. He's gone ahead and
across the planet.
But he's done one big apology.
McKnight.
Like, I think. But no, Janet should have had a separate one. Britney should have had a separate one. You can't just merge it into one big apology. That's lazy.
I agree with Jason on that one. It is lazy.
Because, you know, he's just at home and he's like, oh, yeah, I've got to apologise to Britney and Janet. I'll just put it all into one apology.
Mate,
just
I've
lazy.
got to tell you, I owe so many people apologies. If I did it day by day, we'd be here constantly, just me apologising every night.
The show would run out every single time. It'd be like my segment.
It's true. It's true. Now, Jace, legendary TV presenter, the wonderful David Letterman. Well, wonderful to some, not maybe to others, but he has found himself in a little bit of trouble.
He has. He's in a lot of hot fire, actually. An interview surfaced that he did with Lindsay Lohan, basically mocking her for going to rehab. Take a look at the video.
Aren't you supposed to be in rehab now?
Do you not watch anything that goes on?
I do.
Tabloid now?
Now here's what
May 2nd.
I was under the May 2nd.
Yes.
And how long will you be in rehab?
3 months.
How many times have you been in rehab?
Several.
And how will this time be different? What are they rehabbing, first of all? What is on their list?
Oh, this guy's an absolute
What are they going to work on when you walk through the door?
We didn't discuss this in the pre-interview.
No, but it'll be 3 months. Do you have addiction problems?
Now you sound like Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What is wrong with this?
Like alcohol?
This guy's a wanker. This is really awful. Really awful.
When you go to the rehab...
This is what he did.
I can't hear it because I don't have output. I'm very upset.
We have to what?
Let's stay on the positive. Aside from that side of the positive.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Can I just say, I found it utterly appalling and it was disgraceful. Like, that was filmed in 2013 and poor Lindsay, she'd been in and out of rehab since 2007.
Hang on. That was the story. She had been in rehab. She was going to rehab. She'd been through this whole crime thing. Of course he's going to speak to her about that.
No, but he's making fun of it. Sorry, it's something very serious. It's not to be joked or laughed at. And I say shame on David Letterman. He was making
this
fun
resurfacing, it's like it's been found in a secret vault. It's been on the internet since that interview first went to air decades ago. Come on. You know, we're going back and re-looking at everything and saying, oh, you did wrong. Anyway, look, I'll quickly move on. Although this is causing a bit of controversy on our feedback because we teased the fact Bo Ryan has made an announcement on how much he earns.
Oh, my God. It's so huge. Like, I didn't know. A lot of TV hosts typically don't share how much they earn. It's quite a private thing. He earns a staggering amount. He was on the Carl and Jackie O show this morning. Take a listen to how much he earns. Do we have the audio?
It's coming.
Well, okay, because I can just tell you all.
Yeah. What do you look at that with Amazing Race? How long am I?
Yeah, how long am I away for?
3 months?
3 months, yeah.
How much did you get for that?
$800.
$800? That's amazing. That's better than the job start allowance.
800,000. It's just like, I feel like, Rob, I need to renegotiate my contract with you. I can't even get a sandwich on this show, let alone a bottle of water. He's earning $800,000 a year.
I don't know about that. That is literally, I did some calculations. That's like $1.50 for every viewer.
It's
because
so
that
much
show
money.
rates about
Wow.
624,000, something like that. It's $1.50 something for every viewer. I don't think that's a good investment. I don't believe that figure. I just can't believe that figure. I've got to tell you.
That's insane.
They could pay me $200,000 and I'd be happy
If he did,
with that.
great. Happy days to him. And maybe he's on a network deal. But look, a lot of people were saying here they don't want us to make fun of The Amazing Race. They love The Amazing Race. So be it. Hey, Jason, thank you very
Big
much.
shout out
We'll
to
go-
those 5 people.
Sorry?
Sorry. No, move on. Thanks, Ange. Move on.
No. Jason, we will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Ange and Robbo. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Ange, Rob and Robbo Show.
See Ange, Rob and Robbo, Ange, Rob and Robbo Show.